Welcome to the West Virginia Legislature on the West Virginia Channel. I'm Beth Voorhees. Here's a live look inside the House of Delegates chamber at the state capitol in Charleston. Looks like we're getting ready for a performance of some kind. There are no bills up for passage in the House today. Bills on second reading include House Bill 2007, eliminating courtesy patrol programs. House Bill 2119, repealing the West Virginia Health Benefit Exchange Act. House Bill 2518, creating a legislative rule to permit a pharmacist or pharmacy intern to administer certain immunizations. And House Bill 2538, relating to the licensure of physician assistants. Only one bill on first reading, House Bill 2618, relating to body mass index. And those are the bills on the House special calendar today.
House will be in order. All those not having privileges to the floor will please vacate the chamber. Members and guests will please rise as we are led in prayer today by the lady from the 57th District, Delegate Rowan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Please pray with me. Oh God, our Father, I ask your blessings today on this house, the house of the people. I also ask a special blessing today on some pretty awesome children gathered here with us. May all those gathered here in your presence today perform in a manner that will bring you honor and glory. These things I ask in your precious holy name, now and forever. Amen.
Amen. Members and guests will please remain standing as we are led in the Pledge of Allegiance by the lady from the 57th, Delegate Rowan, and the students from the School for the Deaf and the Blind.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have some awesome helpers today in the front of the chamber. The children from the Deaf and Blind School in Romney, West Virginia, our show choir, Mountaineer Melodies, and Tapestry. Please join with us. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The reading of the journal.
Journal of the House of Delegates, Charleston, Friday, March 10th, 2017.
John from 64, Delegate Householder.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the further reading of the journal be dispensed with and that it be approved as having been read.
John from 64, ask unanimous consent the further reading of the journal be dispensed with and be approved as having been read. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Journal is approved as having been read. Gentleman from the 58th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, today we have a special presentation from the West Virginia Schools for the Deaf and the Blind. They are the guests of Delegates Rowan. Please welcome Mountaineer Melodies and Tapestry.
behalf of all the members, we want to thank you for being here. It's always one of the highlights of our session to have you with us each year, and we certainly appreciate and enjoy being able to share this with you today. Thank you. John for the 58th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, today we have a citation presentation recognizing the state champion ladies cross country team from Philip Barbour High School. To accept the citation, we have the championship team escorting our guests into the Chamber's Delegate Wagner.
Clerk, please read the citation.
Whereas, this past season, the Philip Barbour girls cross-country team won the West Virginia Class AA State Championship for the 5th time in the last 7 years. The team was also the Region 1 AA Regional Champions. Jim Seaton was the head coach, and Gerald Furby was the assistant head coach, where they led the team to victory. Brianna Williams was team captain and was named to the 2016 First Team All-Region. Carla Kirk competed in the 2013 MVP State Meet. Katie Swick competed in the 2016 MVP State Meet. Kiera Hodge was named to the First Team All-State. Jessica Melvin was named the 2015 Gatorade Runner of the Year. She was the Region 1 Champion Cross Country Runner and West Virginia State AA Cross Country Runner-Up. Other valued team members are Olivia Fry, Tristan Furby, Mariah Mitchell, and Shania Keene. Therefore, the House of Delegates of the West Virginia Legislature hereby recognizes and congratulates the 2016 West Virginia Class AA State Champions Philip Barbour Girls Cross Country Team.
House, please be at ease a moment while I present the citation and greet our guests. Gentleman for the 58th.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, today we have a citation presentation recognizing the state champion volleyball team of Philip Barbour High School. To accept the citation, we have the championship team escorting our guests in the chambers, Delegate Wagner.
Clerk, please read the citation.
Whereas, this past season, the Philip Barbour's girls volleyball team won the West Virginia Class AA State Championship. The team was also the Region 1 AA Regional Champions, the Big Ten Co-Champions, and the Sectional Champions. This is the 16th straight state tournament appearance for the school's volleyball team. Players Carmen Klein, Maddie Carpenter, Mackenzie Carpenter were named to the first team Big Ten honors. Kayla Harris was named to the Big Ten honors second team. Carmen Klein and Mackenzie Carpenter were named to the first team All-State honors, and Kayla Harris was named to the second team All-State honors. Kayla Harris was awarded Special Honorable Mention All-State honors. The team members were Carmen Klein, Kayla Harris, Madeline Mitchell, Maddie Carpenter, Colby Nestor, Mackenzie Carpenter, Jaira Casto, Bailey Nestor, Jenna Brown, Emma Kennedy, and Kalea Payne. Head coach Heather Halfin has led the team to state championships in 2005, 2015, and 2016, and was assisted by assistant coach Brittany Brandon. Therefore, the House of Delegates of the West Virginia Legislature hereby recognizes and congratulates the 2016 West Virginia Class AA State Champion Philip Barbour Girls Volleyball Team.
House, please be at ease a moment while I greet our guests and present the citation. Introduction of guests. The gentleman from the 54th, Delegate Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Traveling all the way from Grant County, we have paging for us today Catherine Byard, and she is accompanied by her mother and maybe father and some other friends. Oh, I see him up there. Stand up. Would you stand up, please? Let's make Catherine and her parents welcome. Thank you.
Lady from 32nd, Delegate Kessinger.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Joining us this week is my intern, Quan Duong. She's a junior at WVU, but will be graduating early this year. Her major is econ with a minor in political science. So if the House would make her welcome.
Gentleman from the 45th, Delegate Hamilton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today from Upshur County, from Buckhannon Academy Elementary, we have Brianna Dalton and Gabriella Park. They're paging for us today, and they're accompanied by Rick and Jennifer Dalton and Heather Park. Would they please stand and the House make them welcome?
John from the 35th, Dr. Capito.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of Delegates Nelson, Lane, and Byrd, we would like to welcome some constituents of ours who are here today with AARP in the North Gallery. Margaret and Bob Price, welcome. And would the House please make them feel welcome? Thank you.
Lady from the 18th, Dr. Sabonia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to introduce my Fraser Singleton intern for the week. Her name's Brooke Christian. She's a senior at Marshall University, and she is studying international affairs and plans to pursue a master's degree in political science. And she lives in my district in Barboursville, so she may be in this seat one day. But please make her feel welcome.
John from 28th, Doug Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today we have paging from Summers County a young man by the name of Lane Houchins. If he'll stand up over there, I don't know just where he is. And accompanying him today is his grandmother sitting up in the West Gallery, my former boss, the former superintendent of Summers County Schools, and her other grandchild. If they would both stand up and please make them feel welcome.
John from the 8th, Doug Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to introduce the House today my Fraser Singleton intern for this week from Glenville State College, Amber Bass. Would you please make her welcome?
John from the 10th, Doug Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Please join the delegates from Wood County in making a very special young lady welcome. She is serving today as a page. From Parkersburg Catholic High School, her name is Grace Peterson. Grace, wave at us if you would. And Grace is the chaperone today for her parents who are sitting in the rear gallery, Mary Jo and Chris Peterson. Please put your hand together and make these folks feel welcome. Thank you.
Gentleman from 47th, Doug Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Have two pages with us today from Barber County. A young man from Casson Elementary Middle School, Mason Halfin. I believe Mason's on the floor right now. And also from Barber County, from Belington Middle School, Avery Carpenter. They are accompanied by their mother, Mason's mother, Heather Halfin, and Avery's mother, Rochelle Carpenter. And also, Mr. Speaker, if the parents are still here that traveled with the young athletes, student athletes from Philip Barber High School, I'd like for everyone to stand and the House make them feel welcome.
John from the 51st, Doug Statler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With me today, I have the Singleton intern that's going to get an experience of her life. I can tell you right now that she doesn't realize what she's in for. Miss Julie Smith is a sophomore at the University of Charleston, serving in political science major. Would everyone please give a short prayer for her and welcome her here today? Please stand.
John from 32nd, Doug Fast.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to welcome some very special guests today, my mother and father. If they would stand, my father is an inventor. He's a fix-it man. If something is broke, he likes to figure out a way to make it better. My mother's a registered nurse. Their sole purpose in life is to proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ, and they are here today for Pro-Life Day, and I would like the House to please make Lonnie and Betty Fast very welcome.
John for the 43rd, Doug Hartman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of Delegate Eisner and me, we have some folks from the 43rd District in town for the pro-life rally from Pocahontas County, Judith Fuller and Jason Boserman, and from Randolph County, Mary English. They're seated in the South Gallery. If they would stand, then the House make them welcome.
John from the 51st, Doug Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure today to introduce my Fraser Singleton intern for the week, Sam Brown. If he would please stand. He's a junior at Shepherd University majoring in political science. Would he stand and would the House please make him feel welcome?
John from the 50th, Doug Caputo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to introduce my Fraser Singleton intern for the week. Her name is Emily Markham. She's sitting back there by Delegate Love. She's a student at Fairmont State University, and she's a constituent of the Minority Leader. She's from Harrison County, and she's already told me she intends to run for the House of Delegates as a Democrat, Mr. Speaker. Please make her welcome.
John for the 48th, Doug Miley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I'm honored to introduce to you and members of the House our Honorary Secretaries of State for the day. The Honorary Secretary of State program recognizes high school students from across the state who have been leaders in voter registration among their classmates. Bethany Winters is a senior at Liberty High School in Clarksburg, and Douglas Sewell is a senior at Bridgeport High School. They are both members of the Inspire West Virginia program, where they are part of a statewide effort to register high school students to vote and become actively engaged in their community. Bethany and Douglas are here today and are seated in the South Gallery, and they are accompanied by Secretary of State Mac Warner, Catherine Ryan with Inspire West Virginia, and Bethany's AP government teacher, Fred Ware. I would ask that the Honorary Secretaries of State Bethany Winters and Douglas Sewell stand and that the House make them welcome.
John from the 4th, Doug Farrow.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Delegate Canistero and I from the 4th District would like to welcome on Deaf Awareness Day my sister-in-law, Sheila Nelson, who is in the gallery. Would she please stand and let the House make her welcome?
John from the 32nd, Doug Love.
Mr. Speaker, it's with great pleasure I introduce you this morning to three very intellectual students visiting from Concord University. Concord University, the university for all seasons, located on the campus Beautiful in Athens, West Virginia. Let's welcome this morning Bonnie Wood, a senior at Concord University, Bianna Hash, a freshman, Haley Fields, a sophomore, and James Palmer, a sophomore at the university. Let's give them a warm house welcome.
John from 34th, Doug Boggs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm very happy this morning to have with me on behalf of the gentleman from the 33rd. We're very happy to have with us David Brannon. David is with me here today. He's paging. He's in 6th grade at Gilmer County Elementary, and his father Joe and his sister Laura couldn't be here today, but his mother is in the gallery, in the South Gallery. Izetta, she's here along with my wife Jean. If they would stand and the members would make them all welcome. Thank you.
John from the 17th, Doug Lovejoy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today is 2017 Chiropractic Day, and we have, I think in all the galleries, members of the chiropractic physicians of our state. So I would ask any to please stand and the House to make them welcome.
John from the 16th, Doug Hornbuckle.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Very happy and honored to introduce my intern for the week. Sitting with us today is Christian Rowe of WVU, a sophomore who is studying history, really into politics, and he is also the son of Delegate Larry Rowe. House, please make him feel welcome.
John for the 23rd, Doug Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's an honor for me today to present several pages from Boone County. First from Sherman Elementary School, if these pages would stand and be recognized when I call your name. Haley Cavender, Clayton Sullivan, Ashley Mullins, Gavin Samuel, Maddie Howard, Savannah Ballingy, Michelle Farrell, Andrew Wells, and also on behalf of and in conjunction with the gentleman from the 24th, Delegate Rodriguez and Delegate Phillips from Ramage Elementary School, we have Alex Hager, Madeline Michael, Chase Dials, and Chelsea Baldwin. If the House would please make them feel welcome.
John for the 19th, Doug Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of Delegate Hicks and myself, I would like to welcome one of my students from Wayne High School, Katie Rowe. She's in the South Gallery there, if she'll stand up. And I think we also have in the gallery some students from Tulsa High School, the Student Council. So if you would, please give them a round of applause and thank them for being here.
John for 36, Doug Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of myself and the gentlelady from the 65th, I'd like to introduce my cousins, Emily Nybert and Jeremy Wilt. If the House would stand and make them feel welcome. I want them all to. I also see a former constituent of mine and a new constituent of the 35th District, Dr. Jennifer Bolger. If the House will make her feel welcome.
John for the 58, Doug Coles.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been joined by our Doctor of the Day today in the back of the chamber. We have with us Dr. Josh Cusick Lewis of Charleston. If the House will make the doctor welcome.
Further introductions. Reports of standing committees.
Your Committee on Finance has had under consideration House Bill 2601 relating to municipal policemen's or municipal firemen's pension and relief funds, and House Bill 2603 relating to municipal policemen's or firemen's pension and relief funds that are funded at 125% or more. Reports back a committee substitute, therefore, with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass.
Report be received.
Your Committee on Education has had under consideration House Bill 2763 relating to the approval by the Council for Community and Technical College Education of acquisitions. Reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass, that it be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Report be received. The bill be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on Rules has had under consideration House Concurrent Resolution 5, U.S. Navy Rear Admiral Frederick Byrd Warder Memorial Bridge. House Concurrent Resolution 6, U.S. Army Specialist 4, Thurman Dwayne Young Memorial Road. House Concurrent Resolution 13, U.S. Army Staff Sergeant Brian Curtis Rogers Memorial Bridge. House Concurrent Resolution 36, U.S. Army Private First Class John Ira Pinkerman Memorial Bridge. And House Concurrent Resolution 60, William Bill R. Van Gilder Memorial Bridge. Reports the same back with the recommendation that each be adopted.
Report be received.
Your Committee on Rules has had under consideration House Concurrent Resolution 37, U.S. Army Specialist William L. Amos Memorial Bridge. Reports back a committee substitute, therefore, with the recommendation that the committee substitute be adopted.
Report be received.
Your Joint Committee on Enrolled Bills has examined found truly enrolled, and on March 10, 2017, presented to His Excellency the Governor for his action, committee substitute for House Bill 2740, supplementary appropriation to Department of Administration.
Report be received.
Your Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration House Bill 2344, transferring the assets of the Library Commission relating to media broadcasting to the Educational Broadcasting Authority. Reports the same back with amendment, with recommendation that it do pass as amended, that it be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Report be received. The bill be referred to Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration House Bill 2767, authorizing the Secretary of State to transmit electronic versions of undeliverable mail to the circuit clerks. Reports the same back with amendment, with the recommendation that it do pass as amended, that it be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
Report be received. The bill be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
Your Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration House Bill 2427, requiring agencies listed in the online state phone directory to update certain employee information, and House Bill 2446, relating to the requirement that all executive branch agencies maintain a website that contains specific information. Reports the same back, with recommendation that it do pass.
Report be received.
The Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration House Bill 2792, requiring the Library Commission to survey the libraries of the state. Reports back to committee substitute, therefore, with recommendation that the committee substitute do pass.
Report be received.
Your Joint Committee on Enrolled Bills has examined, found truly enrolled, and on March 10th, 2017, submitted to His Excellency the Governor his action, Senate Bill 176, repealing article concerning detection of tuberculosis, high blood pressure, and diabetes, and Senate Bill 188, correcting definition of telehealth in medication-assisted treatment programs.
Report be received.
Your Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration House Bill 2522, Nurse Licensure Compact, and House Bill 2796, relating to the West Virginia National Guard entering into contracts and subcontracts for specialized technical services. Reports the same back, with the recommendation that it do pass.
Report be received.
Your Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration House Bill 2373, authorizing school bus drivers trained in administration of epinephrine auto-injectors to administer auto-injectors. Reports back to committee substitute, therefore, with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass.
Report be received.
Your Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration House Bill 2631, relating to time standards for disposition of complaint proceedings, House Bill 2649, adding violations of law upon which a public servant's retirement plan may be forfeited, and House Bill 2683, relating to West Virginia Insurance Guarantee Association Act. Reports back committee substitutes, therefore, with the recommendation that the committee substitutes each do pass.
Report be received.
Your Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration Senate Bill 330, relating to West Virginia Workplace Freedom Act. Reports the same back with amendment, with recommendation that it do pass as amended.
Report be received. Reports of select committees. Messages from the executive. Messages from the Senate.
The Clerk of the Senate announces the passage by the Senate of committee substitute for Senate Bill 173, relating generally to auto cycles.
Message will be received. The bill will be referred to Committee on Roads and Transportation, then to Judiciary.
The Senate has passed Senate Bill 235, relating to motorcycle registration renewal.
Message will be received. The bill will be referred to the Committee on Government Organization, then to Finance.
The Senate has passed committee substitute for Senate Bill 259, requiring administrators of interstate estates to give bond and take oath.
Message will be received. The bill will be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
The Senate has passed committee substitute for Senate Bill 473, permitting collection and sale of naturally shed deer antlers.
Message will be received. The bill will be referred to the Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources.
The Senate has passed committee substitute for House Bill 2347.
Message will be received.
The Senate has passed committee substitute for Senate Bill 350, allowing licensed professional counselors be issued temporary permit.
Message will be received. The bill will be referred to the Committee on Government Organization.
The Senate has passed committee substitute for Senate Bill 423, relating to operation of licensed group homes.
Match be received. The bill be referred to Committee on Health and Human Resources.
The Senate has passed. Committee substitute for Senate Bill 441, establishing municipal home rule pilot program.
Match be received. The bill be referred to the Committee on Government Organization and then to Finance.
The Senate has passed. Committee substitute for Senate Bill 481, eliminating a requirement municipal courts wait 90 days before notifying DMV of persons' failure to appear or pay assessed costs.
Match be received. The bill be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
The Senate has passed Senate Bill 490, clarifying standards of liability for officers of corporation.
Match be received. The bill be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
The Senate has passed Senate Bill 491, relating to county litter control officers.
Match be received. The bill be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
The Senate has passed committee substitute for Senate Bill 492, eliminating requirement every circuit court participate in drug court program.
Match be received. The bill be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
The Senate has passed committee substitute for Senate Bill 496, relating generally to guaranteed asset protection waivers.
Match be received. And the bill be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
The Senate has passed committee substitute for Senate Bill 505, providing 5-year reclamation period following completion of well pads for horizontal wells.
Match be received. The bill be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary. Resolutions.
House Concurrent Resolution 82, U.S. Marine Sergeant David Paul McCord Memorial Bridge.
John for the 58th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that further reading of resolutions introduced be dispensed with, and each resolution be considered formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committee as listed on the chamber automation system.
John 58th, ask unanimous consent that further reading of resolutions introduced be dispensed with. Each resolution be considered formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committee as indicated on the chamber automation system. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Each resolution will be considered formally introduced and so referred. For what purpose does gentleman from the 17th, Orbach, seek recognition?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like unanimous consent to turn to second order of business.
Without objection, gentleman may proceed.
To the ladies and gentlemen of the House, we have some very special guests in the gallery today from Marshall University's Luke Lee Listening, Language, and Learning Lab. And I'm sure that a number of your constituents have used this program over the years. And they're in the gallery. I would like them to stand. Jody Cottrell is their leader, and she's accompanied by 3 of the students. And if they would stand, and the House would give them a warm welcome.
Further introductions. Petitions. Motions. Bills introduced.
House Bill 2936, requiring competitive bidding for all state purchases of commodities, printing, and services.
John for the 58th.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that further reading of bills introduced be dispensed with, and each bill be considered formally introduced and referred to the appropriate committee as listed on the chamber automation system.
John for the 58th, asking unanimous consent that further reading of bills introduced be dispensed with. Each bill be considered formally introduced, referred to the appropriate committees as indicated on the chamber automation system. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Each bill be considered formally introduced and so referred. Unfinished business. Bills on third reading. Bills on second reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2007, eliminating courtesy patrol programs.
Are there amendments? Not to bill be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
House Bill 2119, repealing West Virginia Health Benefit Exchange Act.
Are there amendments? Not to bill be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
House Bill 2518, creating a legislative rule to permit a pharmacist or pharmacy intern to administer certain immunizations.
Are there amendments? Not to bill be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2538, relating to the licensure
What
of...
purpose does gentleman from 63rd seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that HB 2518 be advanced to third with a restricted right to amend with, by the gentleman from the 27th, the gentlelady from the 49th, and myself.
You're on 2518 is the bill you're referring to?
That issue here is House Bill 2518, creating a legislative rule to permit a pharmacist or pharmacy intern to administer certain immunizations. Delegate Folk asks that it advance to third reading with the right to amend. You're watching the West Virginia Legislature on the West Virginia Channel. We are bringing you today's House of Delegates floor session. We are recording the Senate floor session, and we'll bring you that as soon as the House floor session has concluded.
Jump from 63rd, ask unanimous consent that House Bill 2518 be advanced to third reading with the limited right to jointly offer an amendment by the gentleman from 63rd, the gentleman from 27th, Delegate Ellington, and the lady from the 49th, Delegate Summers. Is there objection?
Objection.
Objection's been heard. Gentleman from 63rd.
Move.
Gentleman from 63rd moves that HB 2518 be advanced with the limited right to amend by himself, gentleman from 27th, and then the lady from 49th. Gentleman from the 58th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, just a point of clarification. That would be a rule suspension and a two-thirds vote in order to do that?
Gentleman is correct.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To speak to the motion, if I might.
Gentleman from 58th may proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I rise to oppose the motion. The gentleman had all weekend to perfect an amendment. It's on second reading. It was for second reading, and he can't come to me with his concerns right now when it's before us and say, hey, there's an issue with this bill. I need to punt it to third. He had all weekend to address his concerns. It doesn't mean they won't be addressed. The bill has to go to the Senate. There are other opportunities to address his concern if he does have a concern. I don't believe any concerns were raised in the committees it went through, and therefore I would ask that it keep going along in the process. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Lady from the 51st, Delegate Fleischauer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Will the gentleman from wherever please yield? Berkeley.
Gentleman yield. Gentleman from wherever yield. Gentleman yields.
Somewhere in the yonder lands.
Yes. Yes, far away. Could you share with us what you and the chairman and the vice chairman what the issue is that you're concerned about with respect to this bill?
Well, first of all, it authorizes rulemaking. And as you well know, sometimes what comes out of rulemaking can be much different than what we propose. So I'd like to clarify some language that makes the rulemaking more precise.
And what would that language, what issue is it?
If I knew what that language would be right now, I'd have it right now in front of us. But, I was pretty busy for the last week or two working on a budget bill that we were working on, and
thank you for the spreadsheet.
Yes, you're welcome. And actually, you better thank my wife because she's the one who put 14 hours in. It's important to note that this is not something novel to this body to advance a bill with a restricted right to amend to third reading. It happens all the time. And if anybody in this body can honestly tell me they haven't overlooked a bill that they would maybe like to offer an amendment to, but they have not perfected that amendment, and they come forward and say, I'd like to advance with a right to amend. And in this case, I want to get together and put our heads together with the chair and vice chair of health to try to address my concerns. It's not an absolute certainty that I would address my concerns, or that they would agree to the amendment that I might be willing to offer. But I think it's paramount that this body deliberates while we have the time. You're acting like this is the 59th day and we can't get this bill done. That's not the case. this is just good practice to make sure we perfect a bill.
I agree with you that it has always been routine to amend on third reading, especially when we're only at the halfway point in the session, but I still am curious about what the issue you're concerned with.
Well, first of all, if you don't know, it has to do with the HPV vaccine, which if you look in the vaccine injury report that's put out, I believe, by the CDC, there's 40-some thousand documented cases of vaccine injury with the HPV vaccine alone. And I would like to have some notice to parents when they go to get the vaccine for their child. So what happened, for instance, the most recent one that I'm aware of happened at Spring Mills High School with a male student, 17 years old, who was given the HPV vaccine, and less than a week later came down with some neurological problems, serious neurological problems that he spent over a week in the hospital over.
Thank you.
I would like to have notice.
Okay, thank you.
Gentleman from the 58th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to change my position on the motion before us and allow it to go through this one time, that the gentleman would be able to work with the Vice Chair of Health, the Council of Health, the Chairman of Health, GovOrg, to see if he can't perfect an amendment on third reading. But it is awful difficult to come after a two-day break on second reading and try to make those kind of adjustments on the floor at the majority leader's desk when the session's ongoing. So I would try to stay away from that in the future. This is a lot of courtesy that the leadership has given to the gentleman from the 63rd on this issue, like many other issues. Once again, courtesy extended to the gentleman from the 63rd to do this, and I changed my position and urge the members to vote for the motion. Thank you.
Gentleman from 63rd.
Just clarification, I was not aware this went to GovOrg, so I'd like to add the gentleman from the 56th and the gentlelady from the 32nd in that right to amend. And if he will rescind his, I guess you rescinded, so I'd ask unanimous consent that we do that, what I originally asked for, which is a restricted right to amend. You withdrew your objection, correct?
Gentleman from 58th.
Speaker, point of clarification.
Gentleman may stay his point.
The position that we're in now is to vote on the gentleman's motion, and if has he reformed that motion to add more people? I don't understand exactly what we're going to vote on.
The gentleman before us is a motion because there was an objection. So if the gentleman wished to withdraw his motion and ask unanimous consent, then he could restate who he wishes to take.
I'll withdraw my original motion.
Is there objection? Chair hears none.
And now I'd like to ask unanimous consent to advance the bill to third reading with a restricted right to amend from the gentleman from the 27th, the gentlelady from the 27th, the gentleman from the 56th, and the gentlelady from the 31st, and myself. 49th, I'm sorry. Got it right the first time.
The gentleman from the 48th, Delegate Miley.
Clarification, Mr. Speaker. The amendment must be a joint amendment. In other words, everyone must agree that you've just identified, and if they all don't agree, then there's no amendment.
Gentleman's correct.
Thank you.
Gentleman from 63rd asks unanimous consent to offer a joint amendment on third by himself, the gentleman from the 27th, Delegate Ellington, lady from the 49th, Delegate Summers, gentleman from the 56th, Delegate Howe, and the lady from the 31st, Delegate Hartman. Is there objection? Objection's been heard. The gentleman wishes to move. Gentleman from 63rd.
I guess we're back to where we were before. I move that a joint amendment be allowed to be offered, advance to third with a joint amendment from the previous people spoke about, the gentleman from the 27th, the gentlelady from the 49th, the gentleman from the 56th, and the gentlelady from the 31st, along with myself.
Gentleman from 63rd so moves. The would require, this is a suspension of the rules of the House, therefore will require a 2/3 vote by roll call vote. Is there discussion? Question for the House is the motion by the gentleman from the 63rd that the gentleman from the 63rd, the gentleman from the 27th, Delegate Ellington, the lady from the 49th, Delegate Summers, gentleman from the 56th, Delegate Howe, and the lady from the 31st, Delegate Arvon, be permitted to offer an amendment on third to House Bill 2518. All those in favor of the gentleman's motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has each member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, 92 ayes, 7 nays, 1 member absent not voting. 2/3 of the members present and voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the motion passed. Bill be advanced to third reading with the limited right to amend as described. Further bills.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2538 relating to the licensure of physician assistants.
Gentleman from the 58th.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to postpone action 1 day in order to sync up with the Senate bill.
The gentleman from the 58th asks unanimous consent that action be postponed one day. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Action will be postponed 1 day. Bills on first reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2618 relating to body mass index.
Bill be advanced. Leaves of absence. Gentleman from the 58th.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for our colleague, Delegate Storch.
Without objection, leave will be granted. Remarks by members of the House. Gentleman from 39, Delegate Walters.
Mr. Speaker, I'll be relatively brief. When the governor came in and presented and spoke to us about the state of the state, he wanted us to think big. He wanted us to work together on his big ideas and moving things forward. Well, I took that to heart. And here's a bill that'll be out tomorrow, House Bill 3008, and it thinks big. What this bill will do, and many of us as we campaign have been asked, why do we need 55 of everything? Why do we need 55 boards of education? Why do we need 55 counties? Why do we need 55 governments? This bill seeks to address that very issue. This bill is to address the issue of boards of education. What the bill will do will reduce the number of boards of educations from 55 county boards of educations to 10 districts. It will consolidate busing, staff, superintendents. It'll do away with the recess, except for fire and EMS training, which will be placed elsewhere. It deals with levies and elections. It allows students to cross county lines and to share teaching specialties within the counties. As you can see by the size of this bill, it touches virtually 8 pages of code section in our code. How did our code get so unwieldy? No wonder no one can understand what's going on. Now, I wanted to do this. I wanted to say this is just my idea. I'm the only one that's on the bill. If anyone wants to get on it, you can fill out the paperwork to get on the bill. But I don't want to hear the question anymore when I go out and campaign. Why have 55 boards of education when we can reduce the number? This is my vision of how to reduce that number. Now, the walrus that occupies the governor's office can only think of tax increases and cuts, or calling us knuckleheads or poodles. This rethinks government. Good luck, Mr. Speaker, with getting all of us to agree to it. But this is a needed change, and it's my idea, and I hope you'll take the time to look at it. Thank you very much.
Just remind members of the House that we have been a bit critical of name calling to the members of the House, and so I would ask members to respect the same rules when it comes to other office holders. Gentleman from 36, Delegate Rowe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to point to the members. I had it copied and put on your desk, a very interesting article that's in the Charleston Gazette today about the Tennessee Promise Scholarship. Theirs is a little different. The Tennessee governor there is apparently the son of a man who was the first in his family to ever go to college, and his father developed the pilot truck stop chain, and so he's the governor of Tennessee, and he had this novel idea to make community and technical colleges free in Tennessee to high school graduates as they finished high school. He did not include adults in there, but he's now thinking about adding adults, and they cited an extra $10 million to do that. What's interesting is now Minnesota, Oregon, and have programs, and Kentucky's ready to join. Now, what it does is that it makes community and technical college education available for the first time, real college education available to families where there have been no persons graduate from college. It creates a unique opportunity in West Virginia for us to put people who are out of work into an educational program that will allow them to obtain jobs and restructure their lives. I have a bill, and it is being introduced. I don't have the number yet. I will let you know. But the bill that I propose would be that it would be an average of 2.5, grade point average in high school, and an ACT score of 16. Now, all of these qualifications can be adjusted by the Higher Policy Education Commission based upon the amount of money that we might have available for the scholarship. I am told that the average debt of a student at a CTC college in West Virginia is $15,000. That's a real barrier for many people, certainly families that have workers out of work. There's also a provision that if a worker is 24 years of age or older, then they can apply and provide the same credentials of 2.5, 16 on the ACT, or present a work plan where they have been working in West Virginia for 3 years before they go to school and will be working 2 years in West Virginia after they complete school. So what this makes available is a new avenue for education in West Virginia. I'll point out that, of course, if we vote the program and the bill were to pass this session, we wouldn't be setting up scholarships until the next fiscal year anyway, so the funding of it is not as vital an issue this year as it would be next year. But I just wanted to point out that the average tuition in community and technical college is $3,200 a year. These scholarships would be good for 1 or 2 years, depending on the program. I'll point out that the Promise Scholarship for 4 years is an 8-semester scholarship, and it's about $4,700 a year for 4 years. So it's over I can't do the math for you, over $17,000 per student for the Promise Scholarship. Now, the standards for a Promise Scholarship are very high. The standards for the CTC Scholarship would not be so high. But I think it does several things. In Tennessee, they made their scholarship free. And so you understand, when they say free, they mean after all other scholarships that are available are paid, workforce development grants, whatever it might be. This is the last dollar in. But it says to an 8th grader or a 9th grader that's in school, look, I can go to college. I have a right to go to college. All I have to do is to keep my grades up and be able to succeed. So I'll point out that I don't know what the costs are. We need to get a fiscal note on it. I would point out that the community and technical college head counts are going down. They've gone down fairly dramatically. The head counts have dropped from 36,000 to 27,000 in about 5 years. And we are paying $55 million to the community and technical college system. The schools are getting substantial funding as it is now. What would it cost us to fill those classrooms and fill those seats? I would contend it won't cost very much when you consider the amount of investment we already have in CTCs. We're not probably going to have to add professors unless we have a huge number who want to go to college. And wouldn't that be a great problem for us to solve, particularly in the southern coal fields? I represent, as I say, the eastern coal-producing part of Kanawha County, and I'm telling you, this would have a material change in the culture and the education of eastern Kanawha County. it would make a huge difference. The bill has been introduced, as I say. It doesn't have a number yet that I know of. I hope that we'll look at this with an open mind. I'll point out that it's interesting in Tennessee that both sides have been supporting it. As they say, conservatives have been supporting it because it supports business. It creates the skills, the workforce skills that are necessary. We heard a presentation, very good presentation, this morning at 9 o'clock to finance. And the number one quality that an employer is looking for to come into West Virginia is a skilled workforce. Number 2 is highways. We talk a lot about highways. We've got to get that on our agenda. And number 3 is quality of life. And apparently that item has just jumped into the top 10 and comes in at 3rd. So West Virginia has all the things that are necessary. We need site development. We heard that from the development office folks. We need to get more site development going. But you know, we have the capacity to provide skilled workers. This is, as the Secretary of Commerce says, this is one tool in the toolbox. But I ask the members to look very carefully at it. I think it could really make a big difference. They say in the newspaper article that progressives see this as a matter of social justice to make sure that everybody has college available to them. Well, I think that it works. I would add that I think our scholarship should be a merit-based scholarship because I think it needs to give credit to the public school system that we have rather than to be something free that you get just by sort of hanging in there and showing up. So I'd encourage the members to look at the article and also to look at the bill whenever it comes up. Thank you.
John from the 10th, Delegate Dean.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the delegate yield?
John from 36 yield.
Yes, Delegate, I have a great respect for you. You were on the Judiciary Committee. Sorry you're not still there, but anyhow, you had this newspaper article you wanted us to read. You gave us a speech on the same subject, and I assume this bill will go to the Education Committee, and I assume you'll make the same speech there.
Yes.
And if it's successful in the Education Committee, I assume you'll make the same speech again here on the floor, maybe on even second reading and on third reading. That'll be at least 5 times we will get to hear the same speech. Do you think that might be a little overkill?
Well, I don't know. I don't know, Delegate, but I would say that 5 speeches on that bill, if it gets through into the House to third reading, probably will be a statement of the quality of the bill rather than a statement of whether we've heard it a bit too much. Thank you, sir.
Lady from the 51st, Delegate Fritsch.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't want to make this repeat the same thing, but I had the doorkeeper's place a quite lengthy, a lot of information on your desk, with the first sheet being the West Virginia State Police Forensic Lab. As I know we've heard here and before with the drug problem that the crime lab is having serious problems. The State Police Crime Lab provides free forensic testing to all of our 55 counties, and things are so, they have a backlog that is just shameful. Second and third defense DUI charges are being dismissed due to the lack of lab results. The federal government's going to soon require that sexual assault kits are turned over within 30 to 60 days. Our turnaround time is 496 days currently. And there were 887 court orders, expedited requests received in 2015 because of the backlog, and that costs extra for subpoenas, et cetera. This is a serious problem for our state, and money is tight. The state troopers are willing to give up a cadet class in order to pay for this year. I don't think they can continue to do that. As is noted on the front page of this, there's a House Bill 2729. It's received some attention from EMS and 911 county commissions because it takes, the state police currently get 10 cents from every cell phone line to help them with communications because they work with the 911 and the cell towers, and they actually take up the slack when there's a problem with the towers. This bill gives them 25 cents, an extra 15 cents, and dedicates it to the crime lab to take care of the backlog. Now, this was the state troopers, the state police's idea. The counties, for their 911, on average would lose 5.79% of their 911 fees. But that's why there's a big section in here with each county and how much money they might save on their regional jail costs. The crime lab estimates and the state police estimate that 18% of the folks are sitting in jail because of the delayed, the backlog in the crime lab. And here's the amount of money that it costs the counties right now by their estimation. You'll see on the right-hand side, for example, Kanawha County, if 10% of those people sitting in jail are because of the crime lab, that's $621,213. If it's 25%, that's $1,553,034 costing Kanawha County. And how much would it cost if they lose their 911 fees for Kanawha County? Just as an example, $122,919. So that's a huge savings for the regional jail costs. So each of you represents a different county or a couple different counties, bits and pieces. Please look over this information if you can. And if you hear from anyone, you can explain to your county commissioners how they could save money. The last page with some of the 911 information given to us by the PSC is not attached because of the thickness of the packet. So thank you for your consideration.
John from 28th, Delegate Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our colleague, or the delegate from Kanawha County, mentioned his bill that he's about to drop in. I would like to bring your attention to the automation system. There's already a bill in the system, House Bill 2756, sponsored by me, to let the Promise Scholarship help out in the technical education or the vocational area. Folks, our community colleges are in trouble. Not only is enrollment decreasing, they have debts that they can't pay. And if we don't start to utilize those community colleges, we're going to lose a couple of them, and I'm afraid one of them is in my own area. So I think it's time we recognized that not every child goes to college to get a 4-year degree, but some of them just simply want to be plumbers and pipe fitters, insulation installers, and so on. And I don't know about you all, but I tried to get an electrician the other day, and I finally had to settle for one that knew very little about electricity, me, because I couldn't find one. And so we need to educate these folks. West Virginia is about to do something we've been waiting for years for it to do, that is make a rebound. We're going to come back from this situation we're in. And we're going to come back because we can, number one, educate workers and then provide them a place to work right here within these borders. I thank you for your attention, and that bill is 2756. And I think that bill and the delegates from Kanawha, when you put them both together, will be something good for West Virginia. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Lady from 51st, Delegate Pleshire.
Thank you. Unanimous consent to return to the second order of business for the purpose of an introduction.
Without objection, lady may proceed.
Thank you. I would like to introduce my Fraser Singleton student for the week. His name is Abdul Mazagri. He is a resident of Charleston, and he's attending that other school, the green one, Marshall University. And I would like him to stand, and with the members, please make him feel very welcome.
John from the 13th, Delegate Brewer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd just like to take a couple minutes to briefly comment about a report that was released last Tuesday by Workforce West Virginia. Now, I'm sure most of us spent the majority of last year out on the campaign trail, and I'm sure we all told the same story, had the same message. We were all about creating jobs, and I bet my campaign speech wasn't very far from each and every one of yours about creating jobs. Whether up in Hancock County in the northern part of the state or McDowell County in the southern part of the state, I'll bet you that the message was very similar, although the culture is very different. I happen to represent the 13th district, which is halfway between, and I can tell you that the message that I got was that people want a job. They want a job that they can provide for their family with. Now, that report by Workforce West Virginia reported that to the gentleman from Hancock County, you lost 150 jobs last month. To my friend from McDowell County, you lost 30 jobs last month. I represent Jackson, Mason, and Putnam. Jackson County lost 170 jobs last month. My home county of Mason lost 180 jobs last month. Putnam County lost 300 jobs last month. As a matter of fact, all 55 counties lost jobs last month. The unemployment rate went up in all 55 counties. Now, during my campaign, I literally spoke with thousands of people. And this is not meant to be disrespectful to any committee chair or any committee member. But I didn't have one person say, Scott, if you get elected, I want you to go to Charleston, and I want you to make sure that my barber doesn't have to take a cosmetology test going forward. I didn't speak to anybody that said that they wanted to know who had to pay for their uniform if they got fired or laid off. Nobody. I didn't speak to anyone that said, you better go down there and eliminate the Women's Commission, Scott. What they said, what their top priority was, is they wanted the ability to earn a decent living and provide for their family. Again, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just extremely impatient. That's me. That's who I am. Now, we've all talked about putting coal miners back to work. I'll bet you everybody in this chamber talked about putting coal miners back to work during your campaign. And I know each and every one of us have the utmost respect for our veterans. Tremendous respect. House Bill 2625 is bipartisan. It has veterans, it has coal miners from both sides of the table. And all it does is simply direct them towards those apprenticeship programs to where they can find meaningful work, a good job with benefits. Now, regardless of where we end up on the budget, and that's an argument for someone else to make, the governor has talked about 48,000 jobs if he can get an infrastructure bill passed. This bill would put our coal miners that can't find a job back in the coal mines, our returning veterans that are looking for a place to go to work, put them right in line with some of these jobs. Rather, 48,000 jobs, folks, if we had 48,000 jobs available tomorrow, we're going to have to import the people to do it. But this could certainly help our returning veterans and our displaced coal miners. Now, today's day 34. The majority of this session's behind us, and I'm concerned that we're running out of time. Again, I'm extremely impatient. So all I'm asking is that we take a look at some of this legislation, that we don't waste any time going forward, and that we actually address what we talked about to our constituents, the jobs issue. Thank you.
Further remarks by members? Miscellaneous business. John for the 58th.
Mr. Speaker, subject to announcements, I move the House adjourn until 11 a.m. tomorrow.
Are there announcements? John from the 64th, delegate householder.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Committee on Finance will meet this afternoon at 2:30 to consider legislation. That's 2:30 today. The agenda is posted, and the Republican members of Finance will caucus at 2:20 in the chairman's office.
John from the 33rd, delegate Hanshaw.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Judiciary Committee will resume the posted agenda upstairs at 2:30 this afternoon.
John from the 51st, delegate Statler.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Education will not meet today at 2:30 p.m. as originally announced. Again, the Education Committee will not meet today. Thank you.
Lady from the 31st, delegate Arbonne.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A reminder that your Committee on Government Organization will meet today at 3 p.m. in the Government Organization Committee Room, 215 East. The agenda has been posted.
Lady from 49th, delegate Summers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Republican members of the Health Caucus will meet tomorrow at 1:30 in the chairman's office. At 2 o'clock tomorrow, there will be a public hearing on Senate Bill 347, and the Health Committee will meet 5 minutes following the hearing, and the hearing is taking place in Government Organization.
John from the 1st, delegate Tesla.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Judiciary Committee Subcommittee on House Bill 2871 will meet, or is it 2781? We'll meet tomorrow morning at 8:30. That is the photo ID bill in the Judiciary Chamber. Thank you.
Lady from the 59th, delegate Blair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Political Subdivisions will meet Tuesday, March 14th at 1 p.m. in the House Education Committee Room. The agenda will be posted.
John from the 15th, delegate Foster.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Industry and Labor will meet tomorrow at 10 a.m. in the Government Organization Committee Room, and the agenda will be posted.
Adjourned from the 17th, Delegate Rohrbach.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your subcommittee on House Bill 2515 will meet immediately after session at my desk. The members of that committee are myself, Delegates Robinson and Folk. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Adjourned from the 48th, Delegate Hamrick.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Roads and Transportation will meet at 1 p.m. in the House Government Organization Committee Room. Republicans will caucus in the Chairman's office at 12:45.
Gentleman from the 42nd, Delegate Ambler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources will meet tomorrow at 9 a.m. The agenda will be posted.
John 58, Delegate Coles.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Rules will meet tomorrow morning at 10:45 a.m. behind the chamber. 10:45 a.m. tomorrow, Rules.
John from 34th, Delegate Boggs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Democrats on the Finance Committee will meet at 2:15 this afternoon in room 258. Thank you.
Further announcements. Not the question before the House. It's a motion by the gentleman from the 50th, Delegate Caputo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My light must have went out. I'd like to ask unanimous consent that the remarks from the gentleman, by the gentleman from the 13th, be printed in the appendix of the journal.
Without objection, remarks be printed in the appendix of the journal. Question before the House is a motion by the gentleman from the 58th that the House stand adjourned until 11 a.m. tomorrow. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it to declare the House adjourned until 11 a.m. tomorrow.
A brief floor session there from the House of Delegates, since no bills were up for passage, but just on second and first reading today. The Senate is still in its floor session. We will bring it to you in its entirety. A long calendar in the Senate today with 6 bills up for passage, 12 bills on second reading, the amendment stage, and 8 bills on first reading. We'll take you to the Senate from the beginning recorded earlier today.
Senate will please come to order. The Senate will please come to order. All those not having privileges of the floor will please vacate the chamber. With those on the floor and our guests in the gallery, please rise as we are led in prayer this morning by Pastor Seth Polk of the Cross Lanes Baptist Church in Cross Lanes, West Virginia. And then please remain standing as we are led in the pledge this morning by the junior senator from the 17th. Pastor Polk.
Let us pray. Almighty God, I humbly bow before you. Thank you for the great state of West Virginia that we call home. We're grateful for the accomplishments of the past, the opportunities of the present, and our hopes for the future. I pray for these senators who represent and serve the people. Bless them and their families in the areas they represent. There are many challenges before us, and we need your wisdom. The Bible says you give wisdom. You store up success for the upright, and you're a shield to those who live with integrity. So I pray for a spirit of cooperation and the decisions will be made that will guard the freedoms that we are so blessed with and defend those who are most vulnerable among us. Decisions that will be a blessing to individuals and families, decisions that will protect and promote life from its natural beginning to its natural end. Bless, watch over, and guide this session. And I pray this in the name of Jesus Christ, the Son of God and my Savior. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Junior Senator from the 17th.
Mr. President, will our distinguished guests in the gallery and our members on the floor please join me in pledging the allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Reading of the journal.
West Virginia Legislature Senate Journal, Saturday, March 11th, 2017. The
Senator from Wood requests unanimous consent that further reading of the journal be dispensed with and that it be approved as having been read. Is there objection? Chair hears none, so ordered. Introduction of guests. On behalf of the Senate, it is my pleasure to introduce our honorary pages for the day. Please stand as your name is called and be recognized. As guest of the Senator from Jefferson, we have Ambrose Rucker, Catherine Rucker, and as the guest of the Senator from Greenbrier, we have Christopher Tenchner, Cammie Ruth, Mario Mamita, and Zach Webb. And as guest of the senator from Monroe, we have Lillian Jackson and Sienna Sable. And as a guest of the senior senator from the 17th, we have Ella Yarrow. Would they all please stand and the Senate give them a warm welcome? Further introductions, the senator from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's my pleasure and yours to introduce our doc for the day, Dr. Josh Cusick Lewis of Charleston, West Virginia. If he would stand and the Senate make him welcome. Also, Mr. President, representing the Ohio County chapter of West Virginians for Life, we have 8 people here in one of the galleries from Ohio County. I think they're over here. There you are. We have Julia Smith, Debbie Smith, Tina Simpson, Michael Simpson, Emma Simpson, Levi Simpson, and Tabitha Simpson. If the Senate would please make them welcome.
Further introductions, the senator from Wetzel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have some guests in the gallery, in the North Gallery today, here on the Deaf Awareness Day. And first of all, there's Sarah Fike. Sarah was sort of an assistant to me when I was in the House, and she's here with her family. She has her son Connor and her brother Stephen, her mother Nancy Saltz, and also Mick Nartino. So would the Senate please make them welcome? If they would stand, Senate please make them welcome.
The senior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I'm proud to have with us the grandparents of our page, Ella Yarrow, Ruth and Bob Baker. They also happen to be the parents of our learned and esteemed counsel, Kevin Baker.
Further introductions, the senator from Jefferson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have numerous introductions today. First, I'm pleased to welcome my husband, James, my daughter, Teresa, and my son, Xavier, who are here along with my other 2 children serving as pages. I would also like to welcome a large group of folks who are here for the Pro-Life Day at the Legislature. And lastly, I want to welcome and introduce you all to my intern for this week, Abigail Cato. Would the Senate please make them feel welcome?
The senator from Greenbrier.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the junior senator from Monroe and myself, we would like to welcome today the instructor who accompanies our pages from one of the greatest technical schools in West Virginia, the Fayette Institute of Technology. Our junior ROTC members, Chris Selvey, who I believe is in the East Gallery. If she'd stand, or he stand, couldn't Senate make him welcome. Thank you.
Further introductions, the senator from Monroe.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the senior senator from the 10th District and from Greenbrier County, I'd like to make welcome the mothers of 2 of our pages this morning. One of them is a teacher, Miss Megan Jackson at Mountain View School, and the other one is Miss Candy Sable. She serves on the Monroe County School Board, and she had the honor and privilege of serving with myself together on several nights. And I say that out of picking with you. You do a great job, and I appreciate you all being here. Thank you all.
Further introductions, the senior senator from the 15th.
Thank you, Mr. President. In our rear gallery, we have Steve Chansey, Jackson County Board of Education. Would the Senate please make him welcome?
The senator from CABELL.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of my senior senator from the 5th, somewhere in the gallery, we have a person who's very active in our community in Cabell and Wayne counties, helped start the famous toy train to help underprivileged children at Christmas. Will Dan Yawn please stand and be welcome?
Further introductions? Communications from the House.
There are none.
Communications from the Executive.
There are none.
Reports from standing committees.
Your Committee on Finance has had under consideration committee substitute for Senate Bill 186, adjusting date when children become eligible for certain school programs and school attendance requirements, and reports back a committee substitute for same, with the recommendation that the committee substitute for committee substitute do pass. Respectfully submitted, Mike Hall, Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration Senate Bill 192, exempting licensed surveyors from liability for defamation or slander of title when performing professional duties, and reports back a committee substitute for same, and Senate Bill 575, limiting nuisance actions against shooting ranges for noise, and reports back a committee substitute for same, with the recommendation that the two committee substitutes do pass. Respectfully submitted, Charles S. Trump IV, Chair.
Reports will be received.
Your Committee on Natural Resources has had under consideration Senate Bill 308, clarifying administrative and law enforcement activities of DNR police officers are related to conservation and management of state's fish and wildlife, and reports back a committee substitute for same, with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass, but under the original double committee reference, first be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary. Respectfully submitted, Mark R. Maynard, Chair.
The report will be received, and under the bill's original double committee reference will be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
Your Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure has had under consideration Senate Bill 381 relating to Parkways Authority maintaining status quo, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass, but under the original double committee reference, first be referred to the Committee on Finance. Respectfully submitted, Gregory L. Boso, Chair.
The report will be received, and under the bill's original double committee reference will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration Senate Bill 413 relating to bids on government construction contracts, and reports back a committee substitute for same, with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass. Respectfully submitted, Craig Blair, Chair.
The report will be received.
Your Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration Senate Bill 461, exempting West Virginia State Police from state purchasing requirements, and reports back a committee substitute for same, with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass, but under the original double committee reference, first be referred to the Committee on Finance. Respectfully submitted, Craig Blair, Chair.
The report will be received, and under the bill's original double committee reference will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration committee substitute for Senate Bill 471 relating to state ownership of wildlife, and committee substitute for Senate Bill 474 exempting names of licensed hunters from public disclosure, and reports the same back with the recommendation that they each do pass. Respectfully submitted, Charles S. Trump IV, Chair.
The report will be received.
Your Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration Senate Bill 479 relating to Sunday sales of liquor by retail licensees, and reports back a committee substitute for same, with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass, but under the original double committee reference, first be referred to the Committee on Finance. Respectfully submitted, Craig Blair, Chair.
The report will be received, and under the bill's original double committee reference will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on Natural Resources has had under consideration Senate Bill 493, providing increase in compensation for conservation officers, and has amended same, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass as amended, but under the original double committee reference, first be referred to the Committee on Finance. Respectfully submitted, Mark R. Maynard, Chair.
The report will be received, and under the bill's original double committee reference will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration Senate Bill 495 relating to regulation of events by State Athletic Commission, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass. Respectfully submitted, Craig Blair, Chair.
The report will be received.
Your Committee on Education has had under consideration Senate Bill 524 relating to West Virginia academic standards, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass. Respectfully submitted, Kenny Mann, Chair.
The report will be received.
Your Committee on Natural Resources has had under consideration Senate Bill 536 authorizing tracking of wounded or injured bear or deer, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass. Respectfully submitted, Mark R. Maynard, Chair.
Report will be received. Reports from select committees.
There are none.
Introduction of bills. Senator from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that Senate Bill number 586 through Senate Bill number 596 be considered introduced, read by their titles, and referred to the appropriate committees as shown on the chamber automation system.
The senator from Ohio requests unanimous consent that Senate Bill number 586 through Senate Bill number 596 be considered introduced, read by their titles, and referred to the appropriate committees as shown on the chamber automation system. Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered. Resolutions.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 35 by Senators Klein and Beach urging Congress reassess federal definition of industrial hemp.
Under the rules of the Senate, the resolution will lie over one day.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 36 by Senators Maynard, Klein, and Beach requesting study of potential alternatives to current recycling methods for municipalities.
Under the rules of the Senate, the resolution will lie over one day.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 37 by Senator Klein urging DOT use existing signage on highways to display appropriate highway safety messages.
Under the rules of the Senate, the resolution will lie over one day. I was just saying. Motions. Petitions.
There are none.
The senator from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent to return to the fourth order of business for additional standing committee reports.
Senator from Ohio requests unanimous consent to return to the fourth order of business. Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered.
Your Committee on Education has had under consideration Senate Concurrent Resolution 38, originating in committee, requesting the Joint Committee on Government and Finance study options for establishing a 4-year social worker pilot program, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it be adopted. Respectfully submitted, Kenny Mann, Chair.
Report will be received. The senator from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we refer Senate Concurrent Resolution 38 to the Rules Committee.
Senator from Ohio moves that Senate Resolution 38 be referred to the Committee on Rules. All those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the motion adopted. Unfinished business.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 32, naming the U.S. Army Sergeant Denver E. Short Memorial Road.
Resolution will be referred to the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 33, naming the U.S. Army Ranger Sergeant Richard E. Arden Memorial Bridge.
Resolution will be referred to the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 34, naming the Joe Manchin III Office Building.
Resolution will be referred to the Committee on Government Organization. Bills on third reading.
Engrossed committee substitute for Senate Bill 212, relating generally to procedures for driver's license suspensions and revocations. Third reading of the bill.
Question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? The senator from Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee substitute for Senate Bill 212 is a fairly detailed piece of legislation rewriting and altering the procedures, some of the procedures involved with driving under the influence offenses, and in particular, the adjudicative process regarding licenses, driver's licenses. Under the basic structure of the bill, there are amendments to West Virginia Code 17C52, Section 2B, Section 4, Section 7, and Section 12. And there are amendments to code sections in 17C5A 1, 1A, and 5A3. And then there's some new sections in the code, 17C5A 1B, 17C5A 1C, and a couple new sections in, one new section in Article 5C that'd be designated as Section 6. And there's an amendment and reenactment of a Section 3 in Article 19 of Chapter 17C. Let me start with a short summary of what this does. First of all, it does not change in any way the penalties for driving under the influence. The felonies are still the felonies. The misdemeanors are still the misdemeanors. It does not change. It doesn't reduce any license revocations. It does provide for some additional license suspensions, and I'll come to that. But what we make clear in this bill is that for the serious DUI offenses, the license revocation is in the exact same section as that which contains the criminal penalty. So for instance, DUI causing death, current law provides for a 10-year revocation in a different article or chapter of the code. This is right here. It's in the code section as part of the penalty for DUI causing death. Makes it clear that a life revocation is to be given when it's a subsequent offense. For DUI cases causing serious injury, it's a 5-year revocation. That is a felony under current law, and it remains so. DUI causing bodily injury is under current law misdemeanor. The penalty remains the same. The DMV is required in that case to revoke a driver's license for 2 years, same as current law. You track down through the whole statute: simple DUI, aggravated DUI. We have permitting someone else to drive your vehicle while he or she is under the influence of alcohol. All those offenses remain the same, defined the same way, and providing for the same criminal offenses and license revocation. What this bill does that is different from current law, and this is a smaller government bill, this bill eliminates the Office of Administrative Hearings, which was created by this legislature in 2010. And basically what it says is we don't need this duplication of 2 courts, 2 systems, people doing the exact same thing that they're doing now in magistrate courts and circuit courts of this state. The magistrate judges or circuit judges adjudicate these DUI cases in the context of criminal statutes. And so what this bill does is eliminates the Office of Administrative Hearings. That's a couple $1 million ticket in our state budget. West Virginia's, out of the norm as far as its surrounding states go. Ohio doesn't have a dual track system, nor does Kentucky, nor does Pennsylvania, nor does Virginia. Maryland may. I think Maryland does, but the others around us do not. So, what the bill says simply is that when a person is convicted of one of these DUI offenses, either magistrate court or circuit court, the clerk of the court sends the judgment to the Division of Motor Vehicles, and that drives the licensure action. Now, in eliminating the Office of Administrative Hearings, there is one thing that they do adjudicate now that the magistrate courts and circuit courts do not, and we had to create a structure for that to be adjudicated in magistrate court or circuit court, because we're eliminating, if this bill passes, we're eliminating the tribunal which does it. And that is the situation where a driver refuses a secondary test. Current law, and this does not change in the bill, current law is that by taking a driver's license from the Division of Motor Vehicles, you are granting implied consent to the state of West Virginia that if you get pulled over with probable cause and an officer has reason to believe that you're impaired or under the influence, your taking of a license, you're holding one and taking it as your own, is implied consent to the state of West Virginia that you will submit under those circumstances to a secondary test of your blood, breath, or urine. The test that all the police agencies designate in West Virginia is breathalyzer. So that's the test, and so under our law, current law, and this doesn't change, if you're pulled over by an officer who has probable cause to believe that you may be impaired, and given your implied consent warning, you have to take the test or you lose your driver's license. And that's preserved in current law. We don't change that, but what we do change is this bill says that has to be adjudicated in the magistrate court. And there are, the processes for that are laid out. The magistrate would conduct a hearing, and so this is an additional hearing from those which the magistrates conduct now, because these hearings are conducted when they're conducted, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But when they're conducted, they're done by the Office of Administrative Hearings. They would now be in the Magistrate Court. And we had testimony in the Judiciary Committee that the Magistrates Association have reviewed the bill, and they're okay. And it does, I mean, quite frankly, it's, you know, it provides for a little bit of extra work on them in some of these cases where there's been a refusal. I don't think it creates any new work for them in a case where, you know, there's a normal DUI charge, because they're hearing those cases now anyway. But they agreed to the bill, said they support the bill, and even though it may require in some cases them to conduct a hearing, which under our current law would be done, if ever, by the Office of Administrative Hearings. I want to talk a little bit about that. The evidence is pretty overwhelming that the Office of Administrative Hearings has failed in its duty to carry out the responsibilities that it has under the statutes. We heard testimony in the Judiciary Committee that people whose criminal charges are years over and resolved are still waiting for a hearing, the Office of Administrative Hearings, about their driver's license. We heard testimony about hearings that have occurred but no order's been entered for over a year. And so what we've got now, right now, in West Virginia, let's be clear about this, we have people who've been driving, have never had their license revoked effectively for 4 or 5 years. Some of these cases go back to 2011, we were told in committee, that they have never been able to resolve or dispose of. This bill will change all that, because it's those issues, the driver's license issues, are going to be resolved as an adjunct or ancillary to the criminal cases that are pending in the magistrate courts and circuit courts. And those cases move much more quickly than apparently this process with the Office of Administrative Hearings, and more decisively. Now let me address. There's a section in here now that requires a report to the legislature by the Bureau for Public Health. There is language in this bill that provides something that we don't have now. You know, we've talked about a little bit about the problem of all this delayed response by the Office of Administrative Hearings and delayed licensure sanctions as a result of the inefficiency of that office. And I hope we would all agree that a license revocation for DUI is appropriate and meaningful only if it really happens, and if it happens close in time to when the offense occurs. So it is unbelievable to me, shocking to me, that we have cases where people were charged with DUI 4 or 5 years ago, are still driving around, have never lost a day of driving privileges in their life, and have not had any effective administrative response to their offense. Now, what this bill does for the first time is that for serious DUI offenses, the felonies, DUI death, DUI serious injury, this gives the magistrate authority at arraignment, at the time of arraignment, or defendant's first appearance in the magistrate court to suspend that driver's license right now. Right now. Sir, you've been charged with driving under the influence causing death, or driving under the influence causing injury, a serious DUI offense. You don't have a driver's license as of today. Not 3 years, not 4 years, not 5 years, as of today. Now, we preserve to everybody the right to contest that, to have it adjudicated, but the magistrate can do it, or a circuit judge can do it as a condition of bond or otherwise. Pre-trial for the first time ever. And we have in this bill a section that says, it's at I think it's one of the last sections in the bill, it's contained in 17C 19.3, new language that says, whenever a person is arrested for any violation of Section 2, Article 5, so that's our DUI statute, any violation of that statute, the officer shall request and the person shall immediately surrender his or her driver's license. The officer shall submit the driver's license to the court before which the person is taken to appear pursuant to subsection A. So the moment of arrest, the police are going to confiscate a driver's license. And then the magistrate court will act, and I would submit act promptly, much more promptly than we're getting with the Office of Administrative Hearings. There's a cost to this dual-tier system we have, and it's not just the budget of the Office of Administrative Hearings. The Attorney General has, I don't know how many, more than half a dozen deputy assistants, attorneys general around the state who are designated to represent the DMV in these cases that will no longer be necessary. So this is an opportunity for us to do, 2 or 3 important things together. One, downsize and streamline our government, making it a little bit more efficient in a very important area, and with the savings that will be commensurate with that, and have these things adjudicated by people who are already being paid salaries by the citizens of this state, judges, magistrates, prosecuting attorneys, to handle these cases. These cases are being litigated 2 times now under our system, once in the criminal courts and once in the Office of Administrative Hearings. It is inefficient, it is unnecessary. The majority of our surrounding states do not do it. Now, I wish I could tell the body that if we pass this bill, we'll save all that money immediately. The truth is, it's going to take a little longer than that, because there are cases that are with the Office of Administrative Hearings now, and under this bill, they're continued until they retain jurisdiction until June of 2018. And in truth, we have to do that. We have to give them time to wind out of their cases. But after the effective date of this bill, which would be the internal effective date, after July 1st of this year, all those kinds of cases would be heard in the magistrate courts and the circuit courts, not the Office of Administrative Hearings. Mr. President, I'll be happy to try to answer questions. Otherwise, I urge passage of the bill.
Further discussion? Further discussion. The senator from Greenbrier.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to speak to the bill, please.
Senator may proceed.
I've listened to the wonderful arguments made by the Chairman of the Judiciary, our esteemed senator from Morgan County. And he's laid out his case quite well. In fact, I wouldn't want to, I'm not a lawyer, I'd hate to appear in a court with him to discuss that, so I'm not going to ask him to yield to anything. But I want to speak to this, against this bill in this fashion. This is not a bill to increase, if you don't vote for this bill, in my opinion, you're increasing the DUI possibilities in our state. Not DUIs, but DUI death possibilities in our state. The Office of Administrative Hearings has had trouble. There's no doubt about that. This started, it has not been manned properly. They have had a lot of backlog cases. Attorneys have asked for appeals, and they've gone on and on. Not just attorneys, also their office has asked for rescheduling of the dates. It has not been done very effectively. It has not been done very efficiently. But let me tell you the difference. When we put the Office of Administrative Hearings and the DMV hearings in place, really the DMV hearings started in the 1980s. This was put in place, and this was pushed for Mothers Against Drunk Drivers because of the DUI deaths that were happening on our highways. In the 1980s, the year before this was put in place, there were 240 plus deaths related to DUI on our highways. In 2016, the last year, I think it's 16 or 15, the last year we have statistics on it, there were only 65 deaths to DUIs in our state. Now, something's working. Now, I admit, the Office of Administrative Hearings has not worked very efficiently, but they have now changed directors. A young lady from Mingo County, a former prosecutor down there, has come in. She is changing their schedule, she's changing their work, and they are starting to finally resolve the cases that have been backlogged. They're trying to resolve their problems and trying to move forward. I am not in favor of anything that would create DUI deaths. I'm in favor of something that helps restrict those deaths from taking place. I think you would have to say the prosecutors of West Virginia would also not want to see anything that would increase DUI problems. They do not support this legislation. I think you have to say that the Sheriff's Association in West Virginia would not want to see anything increase DUI problems in this state. They do not support this legislation. If you talk to police officers all around the state, many of them will tell you, even in the West Virginia State Police, who cannot speak to this because it's not on their agenda, but if you talk to them personally, they will tell you they do not favor this legislation. There are many folks who understand the significance of changing these standards. Basically, we're talking about an evidence standard from what a prosecutor hears to what the Office of Administrative Hearings hear. By changing those standards, I'm afraid that we are going down a very slippery slope for our future. Maybe we're saving a couple $1 million, and that's good. But what will it cost us when we lose the best and the brightest students who may be killed by a drunk driver driving home from school some night? What does it cost us when a father is injured or killed coming home from work and can't provide for his family because we have allowed someone to come through the system and there wasn't the evidence that needed for the criminal conviction, but there was the evidence to take the license in an Office of Administrative Hearings program? What kind of cost is that to the people of West Virginia? I think there's some good things in this piece of legislation, and I think it's the right start. I would like to see another year for this office to kind of get their act together. I'd like to see a little bit more time for us to be able to make this thing work. When we implemented this, we implemented it because it was badly needed. We have helped solve a problem. We've helped bring those deaths down. And now we're wanting to change that again. I can remember last year when this came up in committee, the senator from Roane County, Senator Ashley, Republican from Roane County, and I both fought together to try to keep this from taking place, to keep this from disappearing. And twice in committee, we were able to bring attention to this and stop it. But finally, the third time, it came to the floor and it passed out of the Senate and the House. I believe it died in the House last year. I'm not for drunk drivers in any way. This is not being for drunk drivers. This is wanting to punish those who drink and drive. I heard in testimony, the one thing that stayed in my mind that stuck with me after the testimony in committee, someone said, well, somebody makes a mistake and they have a drink and they're driving home and they get caught. In this, they could lose their license for a long period of time if the Office of Administrative Hearings hears it and takes their license. And I say, that's good. I don't care if somebody just makes a mistake one time and they're drunk driving home, because it's only one time when they hit the car carrying my family or your family and kill a member of your family or my family. I think it's very, very, very important that we think about this if we push the green button on this, what it means. I think it's extremely important. I know the system has problems. Let's not throw the whole baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. Let's come back and fix the problems with this piece of legislation, fix the problems with the Office of Administrative Hearings. Let's fix it and make it right. But let's not make the situation worse for a couple $1 million in this state. Let's not make it worse for the family that loses a loved one. Let's not make it worse for someone who could be very productive for our future, gets killed by a drunk driver driving home from school. So I urge to vote no on this. I believe the senator from Oregon is correct. This is a good start and a good direction. But let's make sure we do this correctly and completely and make this right. Thank you.
Further discussion? Further discussion? I recognize the senator from Morgan to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Not surprisingly, I hope, my dear friend from Greenbrier County expresses a fear that if I shared this fear, if I shared his fear, I wouldn't be supporting this legislation. If I thought this legislation was going to cause one more, just one more fatality in this state, I wouldn't be here on the floor supporting it. I think it will do the opposite. Let me tell you why. First of all, we have no action by the Office of Administrative Hearings on these cases now. It goes for years and years and years, and people who have had DUIs are still driving around with no action on their license. This bill will empower the courts to act immediately at the time of arrest with a suspension. The fatality rate in West Virginia for DUI cases has dropped dramatically over the last 35 years, as it has in every state. It's dropped dramatically, even more dramatically, in our surrounding states that do not have a two-tier system. Ohio has no two-tier system. Their fatality rate is essentially the same as ours. Percentage of DUI deaths as a percentage of all traffic fatalities. Kentucky's is lower than ours. It doesn't have a two-tiered system. Pennsylvania's is essentially the same as ours. Virginia is essentially the same as ours. Actually, among our 5 surrounding states, the state with the highest rate of traffic fatalities that result from DUIs is Maryland, the only other state that has a two-tiered system. Now, you cannot make the argument that the Office of Administrative Hearings is the result, has caused, or its activities have caused the fatality rate to drop from the 1980s till now. The Office of Administrative Hearings has only existed since 2010. Now, I'll concede that there was a predecessor, and some of that activity was done under a two-tier system managed by the DMV. But the Office of Administrative Hearings has only existed in West Virginia since 2010. What has lowered the DUI fatality rate in West Virginia and in all of our surrounding states over that period are a number of things that this legislature and other legislatures, and quite frankly, the Congress, have done. But the creation of the Office of Administrative Hearings is not one of them. What has occurred in the last 35 years? First of all, we went from, in West Virginia, the .1 standard being prima facie evidence of impairment to a per se offense. You know, it used to be a breath test, a blood alcohol result was prima facie evidence of impairment only. Defendants could rebut it. West Virginia changed the law and said if you're .1, 0.1, doesn't matter whether you're impaired or not, it's a violation of the law. You're guilty of DUI. West Virginia, among many other states, then lowered that blood alcohol level from .1 to .08, 0.08 of 1%. In other words, made it a tougher standard. In that period of time, we have seen the law change so that persons under 21 cannot legally buy alcohol. That's the law in West Virginia now, but it wasn't the law in West Virginia 35 years ago. It was 18. More recently, this legislature has created an offense of aggravated DUI and said if you're at a blood alcohol level of 0.15, you're going to get a higher penalty. It's a more serious offense. Over the last 35 years, we've added felonies for DUIs causing injury, serious bodily injury, other offenses. In the last 35 years, we've seen the development of things that didn't exist in our law at all 35 years ago. Interlock. You know, the technology, I don't know if the technology existed, but it wasn't used or used regularly 35 years ago. Now we have that, where you can put a device on somebody's car and prevent it from starting if they're blowing detectable alcohol. Safety and treatment programs that are part of our law now were not part of the law 35 years ago. There are a number of reasons that, and we should take some pride in it, in ourselves or our predecessors who were here, the people who sat in those seats, for the actions that they took to bring down that fatality rate. And it has been brought down significantly by those actions, not by the creation of the Office of Administrative Hearings and a dual-tiered system. Under this bill, licensure actions will be swift. Right now, I have no doubt that the judges of this state, the magistrates of this state, the prosecutors of this state who are elected by the people are going to make this work. And they will be much swifter licensure action than we're seeing now from the Office of Administrative Hearings. And another important factor, Mr. President, is this: that instead of having to attend hearings in 2 different tribunals or jurisdictions, our police will be going to hearings one place, one time, and instead of sitting in a DMV office waiting for some hearing, they're going to have time then to be out on the road working to stop and arrest drunk drivers. Mr. President, this is a public safety bill. I urge its passage.
Question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question, there being 27 yeas, 7 nays, 0 absent and not voting, more than a majority of those present and voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. Clerk has a title amendment.
Senator Trump moved to amend the title of the bill.
Question before the Senate is adoption of the title amendment. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Senator from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill be made effective July 1, 2017, requesting unanimous consent the roll call on passage be used to make it so effective.
Senator from Ohio moves the bill be made effective July 1, 2017, and requests unanimous consent that the roll call used on passage be used to make it so effective. Is there objection? Chair hears none. On this question, there being 27 yeas, 7 nays, 0 absent and not voting, more than 2/3 of those elected having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill effective from July 1, 2017. Clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to the House. The senior senator from the 15th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Unanimous consent that the comments from the gentleman from Morgan and Greenbrier be appended to appendix of the journal.
The senior senator from the 15th requests unanimous consent that the comments by the senator from Greenbrier and the senator from Morgan be printed in the appendix of the journal. Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered. Further bills on third reading?
Yes, sir. Engrossed committee substitute for Senate Bill 299, supplementing, amending, decreasing, and increasing items of appropriations from State Road Fund to DOH. Third reading of the bill.
Question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? The senior senator from the 4th.
Actually, committee substitute for Senate Bill 299 appropriates $34.5 million in additional spending authority to the Department of Transportation. This is basically what they call the realignment bill. They go through the year and they figure out where money has been spent or needs to be spent and change things around. If people want to know that list, I'll read it. Otherwise, I urge passage of the bill.
Is there discussion? Further discussion? If not, the question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question, there being 34 yeas, 0 nays, 0 absent and not voting, I declare the bill passed. More than a majority of those elected having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The senator from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill be made effective from passage and requesting unanimous consent the roll call on passage of the bill be used to make it so effective.
Senator from Ohio requests unanimous consent that the bill be made moves that the bill be made effective from passage and requests unanimous consent that the roll call used on passage be used to make it so effective. Is there objection? Chair hears none. On this question, there being 34 yeas, 0 nays, 0 absent and not voting, more than 2/3 of those elected having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill effective from passage. The clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed committee substitute for Senate Bill 300, supplemental appropriation from unappropriated balance and Treasury to Division of Personnel. Third reading of the bill.
Question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? The senior senator from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a rather small appropriation. In the scheme of things, committee substitute for Senate Bill 300 appropriates $750,000 in additional spending authority to the Department of Administration, Division of Personnel. Urge passage of the supplemental.
Further discussion? Further discussion? If not, the question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question, there being 34 yeas, 0 nays, 0 absent and not voting, more than a majority of those elected having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The senator from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill be made effective from passage and request unanimous consent. The roll call on passage of the bill be used to make it so effective.
Senator from Ohio moves the bill be made effective from passage and requests unanimous consent that the roll call used on passage be used to make it so effective. Is there objection? Chair hears none. On this question, there being 34 yeas, 0 nays, 0 absent and not voting, more than 2/3 of those elected having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill effective from passage. The clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed committee substitute for Senate Bill 301, supplemental appropriation of federal funds from Treasury to State Board of Education school lunch program. Third reading of the bill.
Question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? The senior senator from the 4th.
Actually, the reading of the title pretty well explained it. The committee substitute for Senate Bill 301 appropriates $15 million in additional spending authority. It's federal money to the Department of Education for the school lunch program. Urge passage of the bill.
Further discussion? If not, the question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question, there being 34 yeas, 0 nays, 0 absent and not voting, more than a majority of those elected having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The senator from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill be made effective from passage and request unanimous consent the roll call on passage of the bill be used to make it so effective.
Senator from Ohio moves the bill be made effective from passage and requests unanimous consent that the roll call used on passage be used to make it so effective. Is there objection? Chair hears none. On this question, there being 34 yeas, 0 nays, 0 absent and not voting, more than 2/3 of those elected having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill effective from passage. The clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed committee substitute for Senate Bill 305, supplemental appropriation of public monies from Treasury to Fire Commission. Third reading of the bill.
Question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? The senior senator from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, this is a committee substitute for Senate Bill 305 appropriates $290,647 in additional spending authority to the Department of Military Affairs and Public Safety for the Fire Commission and fire marshal fees. Urge passage of the supplemental.
Further discussion? If not, the question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question, there being 34 yeas, 0 nays, 0 absent and not voting, more than a majority of those elected having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The senator from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill be made effective from passage and request unanimous consent the roll call on passage of the bill be used to make it so effective.
Senator from Ohio moves the bill be made effective from passage and requests unanimous consent that the roll call used on passage be used to make it so effective. Is there objection? Chair hears none. On this question, there being 34 yeas, 0 nays, 0 absent and not voting, more than 2/3 of those elected having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill effective from passage. The clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed committee substitute for Senate Bill 344 relating to application of payments on consumer credit sale and loans. Third reading of the bill.
Question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? The senator from Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. President. This Judiciary Committee substitute for the bill amends 4 sections of the West Virginia Code. They're all contained in the West Virginia Consumer Credit Protection Act. Amended sections are Article 2, Section 115, and then in Article 3, Sections 111, 112, and 113, all relating to the application of payments when a debtor makes payments to a creditor. In those sections of the code, this bill would strike language that requires payments be applied to current installments first. And so this is to eliminate inconsistency between the Act and the loan documents that are used typically in these kinds of cases. But we're going to strike, this bill would strike the language that says, for purposes of this subsection, payments shall be applied first to current installments, then to delinquent installments, and then to delinquency and other charges. Now, there was there was a change made to this by the Judiciary Committee from the committee substitute that we got from the Committee on Banking and Insurance, and that relates to it's in Section 111, and it is within the subsection B, which addresses the holding of payments in a suspense account. What the language says now is that when payments are made to a creditor which don't comply with the terms of the contract, the payments can be held in a suspense account or unapplied funds account. And the change in the committee's action on the bill was that once funds are sufficient to cover 75% of a full payment in accordance with the terms of the contract, then the creditor shall apply the payment in accordance with subsection A. The bills that came to us from Banking and Insurance allowed any amount less than the full contract payment to be held in suspense until there was enough money to cover the regular payment. The committee set it at 75%. I'll be happy to try to answer questions. Otherwise, urge passage of the bill.
Further discussion? Further discussion? If not, the question before the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question, there being 28 yeas, 6 nays, 0 absent and not voting, more than a majority of those present and voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. Clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to the House. Further bills on third reading?
No, sir.
Bills on second reading?
Senate Bill 25, creating farm-to-food bank tax credit, second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
If not, the bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Senate Bill 28, creating new system for certain contiguous counties to establish regional recreation authorities, second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
Yes, sir. The Committee on Natural Resources moved to amend the bill on page 4, section 1.
Senior Senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent to explain the amendments in lieu of having them read, and that all the amendments be considered as one.
Senior Senator from the 6th requests unanimous consent to explain the amendments in lieu of having it read, and that all amendments be considered as one. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senator may proceed.
The amendments allow 2 county commissions to form a regional recreation authority as opposed to 3. The reasoning behind that is it just makes it a little bit easier for 2 counties to get together and do something within our counties, but it doesn't limit it to 2 counties. So it's similar. This bill allows something like the Hatfield-McCoy trail system to happen in our other 46 counties, because Hatfield-McCoy is only limited to 9 counties. And by reducing the required amount of counties to 2, just makes it a little bit easier if 2 counties want to get together and they can't get a county surrounding them to participate. It just allows it to happen. I'll take any questions.
Question before the Senate is adoption of the amendment as offered by the senior senator from the 6th. Is there discussion? The senator from Boone.
Thank you, Mr. President. I respectfully rise in opposition of the amendment. It's been brought to my attention that the system in southern West Virginia stands to potentially be impacted if just 2 counties can get together instead of the original intent was 3 counties. The fear I have is that there will be too much dilution of the people coming in to ride these trails, and that one trail system may not make it because there'd be too many trail systems. I've certainly applaud. We have a beautiful state, and there's lots of places that we can ride. I've been in the Braxton County area and ridden 4-wheelers. It's absolutely gorgeous. The fear is that we need to take a deep breath and go a little slow so that our area, particularly in the Hatfield-McCoy Trail, 9 counties, are not so negatively impacted. So I would urge you to reject the Natural Resources Committee amendment and keep it at 3 counties.
Further discussion, the senator from Logan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too rise in opposition. I support the amendment by my senior senator from the 7th. And I'm going to kind of go and use the pity side of this. Where we're from, there's not much left. This is all we have. Those cabins that are being, rented out by the owners, that's the only thing that's keeping them afloat right now. If you start a Kings Island in every county, they're all going to fail, which is why it's kind of like you want to spread things out. If you want to do a trail system in the northern portion of the state, that's fine. But, we have the one in the south. We don't have anything else. We don't have whitewater rafting. We don't have zip lines or anything like that. All we have right now is the Hatfield-McCoy Trail. I look at this also as let's look at the coal severance. The top most coal-producing counties in West Virginia was #1 Boone County, #2 Logan County. And for decades, we provided all 55 counties with coal severance. Well, now we have been knocked off our feet, and it's not that easy anymore. And this is all we have. So I'm asking for people to think about that before they cast these votes, because I'm telling you, this will devastate our area. It is a beautiful a trail system to ride on, but if you don't have to drive all the way to southern West Virginia and you can stop in the northern portion, or you can stop just north of Beckley, then why would you even come down to our area? And that's why we are asking for you all to think about that when you cast these votes. Thank you, Mr. President.
Further discussion, the senator from Upshur.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would rise in support of the amendment. What I would say is, one, when we originally discussed and conceived of this idea, we had discussions with some of the folks down at the Hatfield-McCoy Trail System, in particular Mr. Lusk down there that is the head of the Hatfield-McCoy Trail System. The idea here is not to try to snipe away business from the Hatfield-McCoy Trail System, and even, I believe, most of the Hatfield-McCoy people saw it that way. They recognize that sometimes if you make the pie bigger, then everybody gets more. And West Virginia is trying to build itself up as a destination place for people on vacation. And that's really the idea behind this bill, is that if we grow the available trail systems throughout West Virginia, if we grow the available recreation areas outside of around West Virginia, we create a situation where we become more of a destination state. One of the complaints that I've heard from whitewater rafting outfits, for example, is when folks come into West Virginia, they want to spend a week. But you don't tend to whitewater raft for an entire week. You do that 1 or 2 days, and then you need some other activity. And we have our ski areas, for example, and people come in a lot of times, they bring family members that don't ski. And believe it or not, riding in the winter is quite possible on an ATV. In fact, it can be a lot of fun. So the idea behind this entire process of expanding the ATV trail system is not to try to steal somebody else's piece of pie. It's to make a bigger piece of pie. It's to bring more people into West Virginia all over this state. and to grow our economy, which is something that I think every member, whether they're for this bill or opposed to this bill, for this amendment or opposed to this amendment, everybody in this room wants to see West Virginia grow in this area as well as so many other areas. I don't think that this contains any threat to the existing system that we have, and I can understand the concerns, but I believe that it just grows everything for everybody.
Further discussion? Further discussion? Recognize the senior senator from the 6th to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Not only does it allow the 46 other counties in the state to benefit, but even within our district in southern West Virginia, as the senator from Upshur represented, that the bigger pie is just a bigger piece for everyone. It would allow even more development of trail systems within our district. And as the senator said, we met with the authorities from the Hatfield-McCoy trail system, and they were all for it, for SB 28. So I urge support of my amendment.
Question before the Senate is adoption of the amendment as offered by the senior senator from the 6th. All those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the amendment adopted. The senator from Logan.
Ask for yeas and nays.
Senator from Boone has requested division. Is there objection? Chair hears none. All those in favor of the amendment as offered by the senior senator from the 6th will rise. Those opposed, please be seated. Those opposed will please rise. Please be seated. On this question, there being 21 standing or yeas, 13 nays, more than a majority of those present having voted in the affirmative, I declare the amendment adopted. Further amendments?
Yes, sir. Senator Stallings moved to amend the bill on page 6, section 3, line 5.
The senator from Boone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ask unanimous consent to explain the amendment in lieu of having it read.
The senator from Boone requests unanimous consent to explain the amendment in lieu of having it read. Is there objection? Chair hears none. The senator may proceed.
Mr. President, members of the body, what my amendment would do would say that no more than 2 such regional recreation authorities shall be created under the provisions of this article unless approved by a concurrent resolution of the legislature. The idea is to let some of these trails that have been percolating up. I think there's one trail system in Fayette, Raleigh. I think there's a trail system up in the Braxton County, Nicholas County area that may well be shovel ready. But at the same time, take a measured approach here so that in case there is unintended consequences regarding the rapid expansion of these trails in such a way that they're not successful due to the dilutional impact. I hope the senator from Upshur is correct and that rising tide will save all ships. At the same time, one of the issues in our neck of the woods is we've been limited by the housing. Okay, so people come down there and ride their trails. It's great for Kanawha County because they stay in Southridge and then come down and ride their trails, and they come back here, spend the night, spend their money. In order for us to have that type of infrastructure, I think if we get going too fast here, that you're not going to have the people willing to invest in the housing that makes these trail systems very successful. This just puts the brakes on, allows that 2 new ones come on board, can happen tomorrow or whenever this is made effective. But at the same time, it kind of puts a governor on so that we don't, destroy the systems that are already up and running. Urge adoption of the amendment.
Further discussion, the senior senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd have to rise in opposition to the senator's amendment. If it would be enacted, then a total of 13 counties could possibly be regulated to that amount, and no other counties in the state participate, because the SB 28 allows 2 counties per recreational authority, in addition to the 9 from the Hatfield-McCoy Trail System that we already have. This legislation just enables legislation to allow something to happen. And I was the chairman of the subcommittee for this when this legislation first was drafted, and had numerous meetings with the Hatfield-McCoy Trail System, and they never stressed to me any concerns for any possible things that could go wrong. So, but again, I would urge to not pass his amendment.
Further discussion? Further discussion. The senator from Upshur.
Thank you, Mr. President. If it's appropriate, I'd like to amend the amendment.
The question is, has the amendment been filed?
The amendment has not been filed. I just became aware of the amendment at the beginning of the floor session. Just that this would be. I've already talked to Ron about it.
For what purpose does the senator from Wayne seek recognition?
Request unanimous consent that further consideration of Senate Bill 28 lie over 1 day, retaining its place on the calendar with amendment pending.
The senator from Wayne asks unanimous consent that further consideration of Senate Bill 28 be lie over 1 day, retaining its place on the calendar. Is there objection? Chair hears none, so ordered. Further bills on second reading.
Senate Bill 256, relating to prohibiting aiding and abetting of sexual abuse by school personnel. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
If not, the bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Senate Bill 326, requiring Department of Defense family advocacy groups be notified about abuse or neglect of military members' child. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
If not, the bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Senate Bill 364, incorporating changes to streamlined sales and use tax agreement. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
If not, the bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 440, relating to use of Regional Jail and Correctional Facility Authority funds. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
If not, the bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 455, relating generally to commitment of persons to custody of Commissioner of Corrections. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
If not, the bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 531, relating to renewal date for apiary certificates of registration.
Senator from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent the bill lie over 1 day, retaining its place on the calendar.
Senator from Ohio requests unanimous consent that the bill lie over 1 day, retaining its place on the calendar. Is there objection? Chair hears none, so ordered.
Engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 2167, creating a Silver Alert program for senior citizens. Second reading of the bill.
Bill be advanced. Are there amendments to the bill?
Yes, sir. The Committee on Government Organization moved to amend the bill by striking out everything after the enacting clause.
The senior senator from the 15th.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Government Organization adopted a strike and insert amendment for this bill, which makes technical corrections and incorporates amendments to additional sections of the code to reflect.
Senior Senator from the 15th requests unanimous consent to explain the amendment in lieu of having it read. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senator may proceed.
I knew that. Sorry about that, Mr. President. The Committee on Government Organization adopted a strike and insert amendment for this bill, which makes technical corrections and incorporates amendments to additional sections of code to reflect the intent of the bill. The bill would extend availability of the Silver Alert program to missing senior citizens. I urge adoption.
Question, are there further discussion? Further discussion? If not, the question before the Senate is adoption of the amendment as offered by the senior senator from the 15th. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the amendment adopted. Further amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
Bill be advanced.
Engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 2542 relating to public higher education personnel. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
If not, the bill will be advanced.
Engrossed House Bill 2590, updating the meaning of federal taxable income and certain other terms used in the West Virginia Corporation Net Income Tax Act. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
If not, the bill will be advanced.
Engrossed House Bill 2594, updating the meaning of federal adjusted gross income and certain other terms used in the West Virginia Personal Income Tax Act. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
If not, the bill will be advanced. Bills on first reading. Senator from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that all bills on first reading be considered as having read by their titles and advance to second reading.
Senator from Ohio requests unanimous consent that all bills on first reading be considered as having been read by their titles and advanced to second reading. Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered. Introduction of guest. Introduction of guest. Remarks by members of the Senate. The Senator from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. President. To my colleagues, I'll be brief here, but last week I put on everyone's desk a report from the Department of Justice relating to the Certificate of Need law here in West Virginia. And today I put another report from the American Medical Association that I think summarizes a lot of the research and literature that's out there and available today. And I'm not going to read this whole thing, but essentially the American Medical Association has summarized their report into 9 statements, all relating to CON and basically summarizing the ineffectiveness of the program, why it was repealed, the harm that it causes, and the lack of evidence supporting its continuation. And I've introduced a bill this year suggesting the repeal of the Certificate of Need. I introduced a bill last year, or supported a bill last year rather, that streamlined the process, and I think the results of that bill have been extremely positive across the board. I requested a legislative audit last year that came back, and the response from the audit was the same as what you see here in this American Medical Association report, the same as what you see in the vast majority of the literature that's available. And I highlighted on these copies 3 or 4 points that I thought were particularly beneficial. This report summarizes over 40 different research articles, expert testimony from federal agencies, including Department of Justice and the Federal Trade Commission, as well as a number of other research articles. But I'm going to read the 3 that are highlighted because I know it showed up light on some of your papers. The first one says the rather exhaustive literature on Certificate of Need yields virtually no evidence that it has controlled healthcare costs. However, it has kept hospital profits high and restricted the entry of new hospitals, hospital systems, and contract management firms. On the second page here, I've highlighted when there is no price competition because of the existence of CON, there is no incentive to reduce cost for the existing facilities, nor is there incentive to improve the quality of care. Not only does this lead to higher health care cost, but it also limits patient choice. And finally, a simple statement, there's no evidence of a surge in acquisition of facilities or in cost following the removal of CON regulations. This week, I believe the Health Committee of the Senate intends to take up the piece of legislation that I've introduced, and I think you're going to hear from hospitals all around the state some of the concerns that I think a lot of the research here addresses. And so I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that there is an ample body of work out there supporting this repeal and showing its ineffectiveness. And so urge your support of the legislation as it moves through the process. Thank you, Mr. President.
Further remarks, the senator from Monongalia.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that many of us follow basketball, especially WVU and Marshall basketball, and unfortunately the outcome of the two games Saturday evening was not exactly as we had planned. But I am happy to announce that for the 19th time, for the 5th time in a row, that the WVU rifle team did in fact win the NCAA championship in rifle. This is a three-peat for them. They've done it before in 1980. Having accomplished that task from 88 to 93 and again from 1999 to 2004. They're the only institution to have accomplished this feat. I should also point out that of those shooters were the female shooters who actually won titles as well. And if you remember, Jenny Thrasher, Olympian Jenny Thrasher, won in 2016. And this past year, or this past weekend, Malia Babic won it also. It's a very big accomplishment for these two young ladies, and to make it even a larger achievement for them, they were both freshmen at the time they captured this title. So again, we will have Coach Hammond with us later this month when it's WVU Day, and I hope each of you take time to say hello and get a photo with the trophy as well. Thank you.
The senator from Cabell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today is day 34, and I'm not speaking about the budget bill. We are at day 34 of our session, and there's a bill which has 12 sponsors, 3 from the majority party, that hasn't moved at all. And that would be Senate Bill 386, medical marijuana. And I'll address this actually to you, Mr. President. It's time to have the discussion. Whether you agree or disagree, whether you think this is positive or negative, not really clear on why we haven't had this discussion. Rumor has it that the House had too much conflict, or the House did this or did that, so maybe that's delaying our examination of this issue. I don't really think that's appropriate. So let's get this thing moving from the Health Committee. Let's get it out here and discuss it, debate it, and see whether or not this is good legislation. Thank you.
Further discussion. The senator from Greenbrier, or further remarks.
Thank you, Mr. President. I mentioned on Saturday that in Greenbrier County they were having to go jump in the river for child youth advocacy centers. And I just want to tell you that because I was here and did not get there to jump in the river, they still raised $18,000 for child youth advocacy on Saturday, which is tremendous in a small community to do that. Also, while we're talking about opening your pocketbooks, tonight, over in Building 6, I believe, or Building 7, the state FFA ham, bacon, and egg sale. And this is an opportunity for you to go and support young people from all over West Virginia who bring in champion hams, bacons, and eggs. You're not going to get them for $1 a dozen, I can promise you that. But you have an opportunity to support young people who are involved in agriculture, who have an interest in continuing their education through college or other studies, particularly in some in agriculture, some in other areas. It's an opportunity to go buy a champion ham or bacon or a dozen eggs from your district. There are a lot of districts represented, and we need more folks from the Senate over there buying. So I encourage you to go over tonight. Building 7, the senator from Preston reminded me of it a little bit ago. The ham, bacon, and egg sale, a chance to open up your wallet, spend a little money, and support some young people in this state who are doing great things. Thank you.
Further remarks? Further remarks? Miscellaneous business. The senator from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. President. Subject to announcements, I move the Senate stand adjourned until tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Are there announcements? The senior senator from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've been asked because of some additional activities this afternoon to push my meeting back to 3:30. So Senate Finance will meet at 3:30, and the agenda is posted.
The senator from Monroe.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Education will meet tomorrow at 2 p.m. in the Finance Room. The agenda should be posted. Thank you.
Senator from Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on the Judiciary will meet today at 3:30 p.m. in 208 West Wing.
Senator from Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Energy, Industry, and Mining will meet tomorrow at 1 o'clock in 208 W. And Senate Bill 582, the coal mine safety bill, will be on the agenda. Thank you.
Senator from Preston.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Agriculture will meet Wednesday, March 15th at 2 p.m. on 208W. And just to follow up from the Senator from Greenbrier, the FFA Ham, Bacon, and Egg Show is in Building 7 tonight. Doors open at 6 o'clock. Sale is at 7 o'clock.
That's great. The junior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Health will meet tomorrow at 1 p.m. and 4:51 m.
The senior senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Natural Resources will meet today at 1 in 208 West. The agenda has been posted.
The senior senator from the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Banking and Insurance will meet today at 2:30 p.m. and 4:51 m.
The senator from Nicholas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Transportation will be meeting in the morning at 10 a.m. as well at 9 a.m. In Senate Finance, 4:51 m. Your Transportation Subcommittee on Senate Bill 15 will be meeting, continuing a meeting that was recessed today.
The senior senator from the 15th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Government and Organization will meet tomorrow at 2 p.m. and the agenda will be posted.
Further announcements? Further announcements. If not, the question before the Senate is, shall the Senate stand adjourned until tomorrow morning at 11 a.m.? All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the Senate adjourned.
A recording of the Senate floor session from earlier today here on the West Virginia Channel. You've been watching the West Virginia Legislature on the West Virginia Channel, a service of West Virginia Public Broadcasting. I'm Beth Voorhees.